And this is the great part of working with these guys at Versace, because we're very open to even disagreement. So I want to disagree with my co-presenter, Kirk, on one thing, and that is there is a specific closed probe question that I think is crucially important that you ask, right? So by the way, open probe, closed probe, we talked about that. Let me just quick define it. If you don't know what it is, closed probe questions are questions that are designed to get a yes or no answer. So can, would, should, is, will, right? So they begin with those words. Do, right? Are. Whereas the open probe questions, the who, what, when, where, why stuff that Kirk was talking about. But so there is one closed probe question that I think is crucial to ask. And it sounds like this. When the customer or prospective customer comes initially to you with the problem, whatever it is, what you need to do is move off the solution. Right? Now this is the really hard part for, as we say in Texas, all y'all. That's the plural of y'all. All y'all. Not just y'all, but all y'all. Right? And I'll include me in all y'all. This is the hard part for all y'all. And that is to move off the solution, because what do you want to talk about more than anything? Pain. Yeah, your brilliance, right? The way that you can solve their problem, right? All of the great stuff that you got. So you want to highlight that and talk about it, and talk about these great things that we can do for you. And absolutely, I can fix this. Oh, I'm so excited. That's because you, as well as me, we're all recovering solutionists. Hi, my name is Ed, and I'm a solutionist. I like to provide solutions, sometimes even if there aren't any problems. Why? Because it makes me feel really good about myself to provide a solution. It's in my DNA. So I like to provide the solution. So when I'm asked a question that I know the answer to, I'm like, I'm about to be brilliant. I can feel it. It's sort of like I'm getting the vein ready for the injection of adrenaline rush, right? You can feel it. But you have to resist every temptation to do that, because this is the first mistake. Talking about the solution too early. As we said earlier, solutions only derive their value from the problems that they solve. So if we immediately jump into talking about the solution, we potentially have lost the opportunity to explore the value of the problem. So the first thing that we need to do is move off the solution. And here's what it sounds like. And I'll go back to Kurt's example, because it's a great one. We didn't need a new CRM system. Do you do that? Or even, we need a new CRM system. What's your billable rate to implement that for us? Okay, now you now know that the answer $200 an hour is, thank you for playing, right? That would be wrong. Right? But what is the answer? How do you respond to that? And this is what you need to do. Three parts. Number one, assuagement. Thanks for calling, thanks for emailing, thanks for the conversation. So some kind of assuagement. We do CRM systems all of the time. You've come to the right place. We handle your case. We do tax returns all the time. We handle these kinds of cases all of the time. You see, it doesn't matter the industry here. So the first response to we need a CRM system is to reply, thanks for asking that question. We do that kind of stuff all the time. That's part A. Part B, this is the move, or the pivot, as some people call it. However, listen to what it sounds like. CRM means lots of different things to different people. Is that true? Mm-hmm. Right? Your particular tax return, your particular case is unique to you and is different from all of the others we've handled. Is that true? Is there anything that's exactly the same? No. So we have to move and say, thanks for calling. However, what you're asking for is a little bit different, because it's different to everybody. Each of you is unique. And that's the move. And then this is the closed probe question that you then ask. Would it be okay if I asked you a couple of questions as to why you think you need CRM, or why you think you need us to represent you, or why you think you need this kind, why you're thinking about getting this tax return instead of going someplace else, like all the other stuff. But notice that I'm asking explicit permission to ask them more questions, and more importantly, not do what?
Provide solutions.
Provide the solution and answer their first question. Right? Do that in 5 minutes. Okay? Good luck. It will take you your rest of your life to implement that in real time. Because all of our brains, including mine, hi, my name is Ed, I'm a covering solutionist, are wired to go to the solution. And the person you have to fight is not the customer, but you. You've got to fight it. Because you're like, I want to talk about how brilliant I am. That's what I want to do. Right? So the first thing to do is get yourself to say, okay, no, I've got it. Would it be okay if I asked you a couple questions as to why you think you need X? That's the basic one. If you go into the Mahan Khalsa book, there are others. It's called Move Off the Solution. There are different types. And he's got 4 or 5 different perspective types. I'm giving you the old one. One of my favorites, and this is a great one, especially for professional services, is it would be presumptive of me to give you a price at this point. Or it would be presumptive of me to answer your question. Or it would be presumptive of me to propose a solution to you at this point. Why I like that middle piece, that's the middle piece. That's another move using the word presumptive. Why I like that is because what does it say about the previous providers that they've talked to? Right? They've been presumptive with you. They've prescribed before diagnosing, to continue Kurt's analogy. Right? It would be presumptive of me to give you an answer. So, would it be okay if I asked you a couple questions as to why you think you need X? See that? Easy, right? Yeah, good luck. I'm serious, it's really hard. All right, now, once you get that, what are 99% of all rational human beings going to say to that question? Yeah, absolutely, sure. So now you've been given explicit permission not to talk about the solution and not to answer the question that they first proposed to you. So you have explicit permission. Sure, be happy. Yep, that'd be great. So we can now explore it, right? And what we're doing next, and this is all in the Khalsa book, I'm just going to do this quickly so you can just read it. What you're doing next is, okay, so what would, by the way, if I ask this question, would it be okay if I ask you a couple questions about why you think you need X? What's the next logical question after they say yes?
Why do you need
Yeah, right. It's beautiful. It's built into the previous question. So, yes, it would be okay if you asked me questions. Why do you think you need it? Great. Why do you think you need it? Right? Why do you think you need it? Okay, so it's in there. So why do you think you need this? Why do you think we have to have this conversation? Okay. When they say, well, we need it because of this, do you then solve that problem?
No.
No. This is the next question that you need to end. This is not is after they give you reason number 1, the next thing you got to remember, and this is what else? Why else do you need it? Right? Why else? I want to get the complete list of all of the reasons. Now, it might just be one reason, in which if I know that's it, that's the only reason. If it's a small thing that they're asking for, there might only be one reason, because of this. Fine. Is there anything else? Any other reason why you think you need this? I don't know. All right, so that's it. But if you get a list, if you get, say, 5 things, right? You have a list of 5 things. What would be the next question to ask about the list of 5 things?
What's the most important?
What?
What's the order?
Which is the most important? Right? Which is the most important to you? Now that you've given me these 5 things, which one of these do you think is the most important to you? Surprise, surprise, it's not always the first one they gave you. Right? So, which is telling you that if you had done this serially, if you had explored that question first, what would might have been gone down a rabbit hole and not gotten to the value at all, right? Because it wasn't the most important. Now, they're not malicious on their part. They are just thinking of things, right? So, which one do you think is most important? Okay, I think that the third one, actually, now that I think about it, the third one is the most important. All right, so let's have a conversation about that.
Why?
Let's have a why. Let's have a why. You know, why is that important? Explain the situation, right? So this is where it does become conversational. And what you're listening for at this point, as they're going through this, is what Khalsa calls a measurable word. In fact, when you listen to the audio of him, he's got a funny sound that he does. It's when the customer or prospective customer says something that you perceive as measurable, you should have a measurable alert go off in your head. Measurable. This is measurable. Right? So what does he mean by measurable? Something like this. If they say something like, well, we think if we got this, if we fixed this problem, we think our quality, the quality of our manufactured goods, we think our quality would improve. Okay? We think our quality would improve. Okay. Once you hear something that's measurable, you then drop into what he calls the 5 golden questions. And this is in the book, by the way, Kurt. I just looked it up.
Yeah,
it's on page 57 of the Khalsa book here. All right. So, first question is a really interesting one. So, quality, you think it's going to improve quality. How do you measure quality? How do you measure quality? What are 2 possible answers for that? One possible answer is they give you a metric. Breakage errors per 1,000. Or I don't know, mistakes made, customer complaints. They give you some kind of a metric that they use to measure. So that's option 1. The other one, which is far more common, is them saying, we don't. Right? We don't have a metric for quality. All right, now I'm getting this. There's 2 cool possibilities off of this tree. All right. The first one is to do this. That's interesting. You don't measure quality, and this is back to the point that was made earlier about the legal perspective and getting in there on a side project. When you hear this is side project. How about we just come in and do just a little mini engagement with you to help you develop some quality metrics? Before we even talk about solving the big thing, we're just going to apply our expertise to you in helping you develop this metric, because you said this is important to your organization, so perhaps we can do an engagement, a small little engagement around helping you develop some quality metrics. So that's one choice when you hear we don't. Bless you. The other choice is you don't feel comfortable. You're like, we don't do quality engagements. That's not like in our bailiwick. We're not doing quality engagements. So the other is what Mahan calls peel the onion. So what you say is, if quality were to improve, what would happen? If quality were to increase, if we were to give you a solution to this problem, he calls it a solution that exactly meets your needs. That's the phrase he uses. If we were to give you a solution, we're able to solve this problem for you. Assume a solution. I like that. Assume a solution. And quality were to go up, what would happen? Well, if we improve the quality, our customers would be happier. Right? Measurable alert. Right? Customer satisfaction is something that is theoretically measurable, yes? Okay? We go in the loop. It's a nice programming loop for those of you who don't. So how do you measure customer satisfaction? 2 possible answers. Net Promoter Score. We do a customer survey. Right? There's all those, or we don't. Right? We're in that same tree now. So, if you don't, maybe we can develop a customer service metric for you, right? Or, that's interesting. So if customer satisfaction were to significantly improve, what do you believe the result of that would be? See how I changed the wording on what I just said the last time? That's all I did. Because this is conversational, right? If that were to happen, if customer satisfaction were to increase, what do you believe the end result would be? Now this is, well, we think we'd sell more. Okay, now we're golden. Now we're really golden. And by the way, when they say sell more or revenue or income, you don't have to ask the first question because you sound like an idiot. Right? Think about that. How do you measure revenue? We add up the invoices at the end of a period. What are you, a moron? Right? So when it's revenue, You don't have to ask the first question because we assume it. Now, it might be revenue for what? It might be revenue for this constituency of customers, this particular product, this group. I mean, or this location. So I'm not saying it's revenue for the whole company, but revenue for whatever it is that you're talking about. All right. So now we're golden, and now we proceed through the rest of this pretty clearly. Now, really, what is it now? What's the revenue for that product line now? And I'll get to this after lunch when they say, well, we're a privately held company. We don't give that information out. Okay, I'll deal with that after lunch because there's some other stuff that you need to know before I answer that question. But let's just assume that they go, oh, it's $10 million, right? It's $10 million. That's what it is now. What would you expect it to be if we provided you a solution? What would happen? Is it going to go up? What is it going to go up by? I don't know. I have no idea. What's in your gut? 2%, 5%, 10%? Just what's in your gut? You can make some suggestions for them. I don't know. I probably wouldn't go up at all. All right, I guess you don't need this. This is what Kurt was talking about. Just back away a little bit. No, that sounds like you don't need this. All right, let's move on to the next thing. No, wait. No, we probably should talk about that. Well, because it's logical, right? If this is not added value to you, why are we talking about it? Right? So sometimes taking away the solution, or as Kurt said, pushing back a little bit, will get you to come back to this customer. Well, we think it would go up by 10%. Okay. And so what's that difference? Here's the thing where, I'm doing a very easy $10 million, 10% of $10 million is $1 million. Usually it's not that easy, right? Usually it's like 17% of $34,000. Anybody do that in their head? Not me. Perhaps you accountants can, but I can't. Here's one of the tips. Make them do the math. If you're standing at a whiteboard, you can, what's that? Do that calculation. Why? And this is, Picasso says this in his hysterical moment. He goes, well, because if you do the math on your HP 9000, who's got the problem? You and your HP 9000. If they do the math, who's got the problem? They do. Right? So you can write the math down on their whiteboard. Oh, this is, $1 million. What's the value of that difference? See where we're going? Right? Over what period of time is that? That's for most companies, they get that in terms of a year. But not always. Don't assume that. Sometimes people are thinking 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Over what period of time? What do you feel comfortable as a time horizon, Mr. and Ms. Prospect, right? Or talking about this. They can say 3 months. I'm good with that. I don't care. I really don't care what the time horizon is. I just want a time horizon. Right? So that I can make it a calculation that we can do. Right? So over what period of time? Play the skeptic. Really? That seems high to me. You sure about that? I don't know if that's right. You guys, you feel comfortable with that number? Seems a little high to me. Oftentimes, what is it actually? Oftentimes. Right? So, and then like the shampoo bottle, the joke I made earlier, rinse, repeat. Now we go to the next thing on the list. What's the second priority? Right? What's the third priority? And perhaps after 1 or 2 passes at that priority list, you should have a significant amount of value, right? Their perceived value that they have told you about, right? So I just want to make sure that we've got to understand. What we're saying is if we were able to solve your problem that we talked about earlier, we're talking about a $1.5 million. Is that right? Do you feel, and constantly be checking that. Do you feel good about that number? Because it's their number, not yours, it's theirs. Right? So, this is how to get to value. Right? This is, now, you can do this, and I am dead serious about this. When Dan Morris gets here, he is a savant. for the value. Like Ron's, I didn't know the story about Ron that he was doing tax returns at 15 years old. You know, like he was an accounting savant, obviously. He was like the Mozart of accounting or something. Right. And I just have this, image of Ron now as an 8-year-old, right? in front of the 10 key, trying to add up numbers in the phone book as fast as he can. Right? Anyway, but talk to Dan Morris, because honestly, he is a savant at this conversation. He can't explain it, he just does it naturally, so we can talk to him and be able to uncover these nuggets. Listen to Kirk's interview. We have an interview with him on the Soul of Enterprise as well. Just listen to how he talks through this. And the biggest thing is he is not afraid to go, why am I here? Because there's clearly nothing for me. As you saw from the website, right? I bet you some of you were talking, I can't ask my customers that question. They would never, my prospects would never even fill that out. Dan's like, yeah, I don't care. Right? If they're not willing to fill that out, I don't really need to talk to them. All right? Does that make sense from a process standpoint? Questions about those? And it's not mine, it's also, so I just want to let you know, it's all on him. Questions about that?
I'll just add that the reason I've forgotten this is because it's become instinctive for me.
That's exactly correct.
And so what will happen is you will get to a point, and I think quicker than you think you will, where you won't even need to have that up there. You'll just instinctively do it. Okay, so it's fine to use it as a methodology, but realize it's going to develop into an instinct fairly quickly. And so it's interesting. Now I remember it, but I just
right, because and that's one of the difficulties of this, of doing what Kirk and I and Ron do, is that over time, our way of thinking, our noting about this stuff is like so far removed from where it was. It's hard to think back. I'm going to show you a video after lunch that I think explains this concept really well, about this old and new way of thinking.